next stage will be Voltaic, which you need to go to this projector to go find the tusk and find the ball configuration we need. This is also, of course, the symbol for Voltaic. I'm not exactly sure what it's supposed to be, because I know the Idana one was a bird. This one, I have no idea what this is supposed to be. Really? If anybody has a clue, please let me know, because I don't... yeah, and I'm having some trouble here. That should do it. Okay, that is my specific ball coordination code that I need. Now I just have to get to the tusk and solve the puzzle regarding it. And out of all the puzzles of the three to get to Voltaic, Idana, and Amateria, this one is the most time-consuming and possibly the most confusing if you're not sure what exactly you're doing. So first and foremost, we want to find out the start of this puzzle, and it's not as subtle as some of the others. It's actually quite visible. You actually go to this little, I wouldn't call it a pier, but this outcropping here. And you gotta turn this wheel several times. There's really no trick to it or puzzle. It's just turn it until the light hits the actual reflecting mirror on that structure out in the ocean. Now it shines light through there into this little marker. I wouldn't call it a marker switch, but apparently there's some sabotage going on. There was a easier way to solve this problem, this puzzle, but of course Saavedro didn't want that. Now note the color of the fire marble on top of that one. That one was, what was that, yellow? This one is blue. This is very important. You don't know it at the moment, and you'll probably even forget that there's actually colored marbles on top of these rotating telescopes. But the order of these fire marbles is highly important. And my first time through, I didn't really pay attention. Not at all. So when I got to the actual door of the tusk, I was just like, I was feeling good about myself, and I'm like, oh, I feel great. And then I get up there, and there's like a color-coded puzzle switch, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what do I do here? I don't even know the code. Where did I get the code? And this is where you get it. From going across all the island, flipping these telescopes to their proper designations so they hit the tusk door to provide a kaleidoscope of colors on the door. And as you go along, you pick up the code to the door. So we started with yellow, and then we went with blue, and then we went with green, and that one was red. And that takes us all the way back across the chasm here. And yes, there are repeats. This one is a yellow. So you will have to press the yellow button twice. And just to ensure, yep, that is pointing in the right direction. Now I can see why I said this was more or less time-consuming compared to some of the other puzzles. I mean, some of the other puzzles are a little more located centrally around their tusk. This one is all over the island. This one takes you on a whirlwind tour of Jananan just to solve it. And that one shoots it all the way to the tusk and activates the mechanism so you can input the code into the door. So you just got to make it there, past the start of this puzzle, past the sabotaged marker. Alright, cool. Now we know which button corresponds to which color. So yellow, blue, green, red, purple, yellow, purple, red. And that is the code. That is not randomized. It is always the same every single time. So even if you didn't go through all that, you still have to go through that anyway, because it doesn't activate until all the colors are playing on the switch. So you can't really just skip it, unfortunately. And that was my unique code. And here's the book for Voltaic. Took a little longer, but we still got here just the same. Still no idea what that symbol is. Wait. Oh, I think I know what that symbol might be. I just figured it out. And I'm not going to spoil it for you all. I will tell you what I think it means when the time is right. And here's an interesting structure that ended up having a lot less prominence in the age than I was expecting when I first played this game. I was like, oh, there must be something super, super important here. And, I mean, I gotta probably come back here multiple times just to solve some puzzles. Oh yeah, and here's a way back if you need to. In fact, now that I think about it, I don't remember finding a way back to Janan in Indana. Was there a linking book in Indana at the start? Because I don't remember that. But yeah, in the end, you start here, and then you come back here, and that's really it for that structure. So, kind of a shame, really. It looks cool, at least. There's a cool canyon area there that I really want to explore, but the first order of business is to go through these caves. You're not going to do much in that canyon area, but just kind of wander around and gawk at things. As always, try every door you see. Rule of thumb in Myst games, 99% of every door you try will almost assuredly be locked. You can almost guarantee it. And this looks like a power structure grid diagram. There's no power going to anything. So this age is built around the concept of energy, of power. And that can be energy in all sorts of forms. Like in this case, it would be the power of water, and how that produces energy. Now, just because we opened up the floodgate doesn't mean there's anything flowing through any of the power structures of this age. We have to help it along. Of course we do, because everything is turned off when we first get here. So, for whatever reason, we need to connect this back up to the walkway above. So, simple little animation here. Why? I'm not entirely sure. I guess the spinning motion provides power? No idea how some of this machinery works. Now here's the part that will trip a lot of players up. What do I do now? It's actually a small little porthole on the side where the glass is broken out. You gotta flip these shutter things open so that it catches the water and starts spinning the wheel, and thus providing water power to this whole structure. Yeah! If you weren't very observant, you could be wandering around this age for a long time trying to figure out what to do next. Very fancy door with no real practical purpose other than getting you from one place to the next. Hey, and another message from our host Saavedro. Let's see what he says.
20 years, Atrus. 20 long years alone. They tied me to a post. They burned their Myst blinking books in front of me. They took everything I had. My wife! My 2 baby girls! And then, when I finally made it back to Narayan and I saw... It would have been better if I had died.
Whew, that's some pretty heavy stuff there. He is putting the blame completely and solely on Atrus' shoulders for how he raised Sirrus and Achenar. Even though it wasn't technically his fault, he did try his best to raise his kids, you know, the best he knew how. They just were bad seeds and they ended up that way. They got their just rewards. Now here's a new puzzle where you have to connect the circuits here. And they do give you 4 or 5 portholes to do this, to connect up the circuits. And in reality, you only need to work with 1. If you can connect up all the circuits that are rotated around this structure and solve it from 1 porthole, you can. Just like that. And all the other portholes will close and you've just provided some electricity power. And that is the second energy of this age that you will be working with, electricity. But don't forget to walk around the central structure and take some more pages so you can get a better idea of Saavedro's mindset here. Now, here's what boggles my mind. Atrus is just a plain, unassuming man who can write ages and stuff like that, but he has access to so much technological marvels and just materials. I'm like thinking, how the heck did he make all this? By himself? Because if I recall, unless he wrote ages to gather people to help him build these things, he must have done this all himself. Unless Catherine helped him, but still, that's just 2 people building all this for his 2 sons, Atrus and Sirrus and Achenar. Wow, that was a good flub. But yeah, as you saw in that power grid, more things are activated now as a result of our actions. The door's still locked, so we will pass it by. And if I recall, I think I passed by some pages here too. Where are they? Up there they are, they're right over there. Let's pick them up. So, back to the original conversation, it's just amazing how much Atrus has accomplished, pretty much more or less by himself. So he is a brilliant genius. It would be scary if he was a villain or something, you know? Anyway, this looks rather interesting. This almost looks like an airship dock. And now that we're talking about airships, look at that. There's a deflated airship. And I think that is what the symbol of the age is all about, is that airship. I just figured that out just now while recording this. Silly me. And here's another puzzle. This one requires the energy usage of steam, the energy of heat and steam. And unfortunately, there's nothing going through this, so this elevator will not work. Another thing that'll trip players up, more sabotage by Saavedro, is that this is a ladder, right here. Yep, this be the ladder. Does not look like one, but it is, and if you don't realize that you can climb it, you will never be able to solve this heat-steam puzzle, or at least provide the power so you can solve this puzzle. So methinks Saavedro purposely locked the door when Atrus probably never had that door locked for his sons, and then turned off all the steam and heat so that it forced you, or rather what he would think would be Atrus, across the most dangerous routing possible to get into the chamber so you could provide that heat again so that steam puzzle would be accessible. So he purposely made these puzzles harder by just simple actions, very simple, like just locking the door from the inside, then climbing out the vent back to the airship. Very tricky that man is. So let's just unlock this for our own sakes, just to make it easier. And this device clearly shows some tampering and sabotage by Saavedro.